Hey there.
There we go. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for joining Movie Junk today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, I think. Um,
No, most definitely, man. This is a tremendous honor to have you on, and yeah, always excited to have um, legendary actors. For some of my favorite movies. I know you don't need a big intro, but my personal favorites that I've seen you in, movies like Donnie Brasco.
mm,
Um, just recently saw you in the Irishman. You were Albert Anastasia, in that chair, and
yeah, it's twice.
twice because you played him in Mobtown.
That's
Danny
correct.
Danny A, and that cast was awesome. I want to get into Mobtown as well. But that was a lot of Sopranos facts. And speaking of the Sopranos, you were in Sopranos, one of my favorite seasons, in season 5, the Marco Polo episode. You were with
Apollo was fun.
yeah,
That was a great episode to work on.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. That was awesome, and yeah, just honored to have you on, and want to jump into all those movies. But before we begin, how are things with you?
Well, I'm starring in the biggest movie of my life right now called 2020, and it's been what do you want to call it? It's been a disaster, basically. But I got through it. I had 5 films up this year that I was supposed to do, including one of my own that I wrote called The Lunatics, and everything's been put on a shelf. So, yeah, and in January, I was on the precipice of probably one of the most busy years of my life. I had 3 signed contracts for films. One I was supposed to shoot in Germany, uh, called Bonhoeffer, and it'd be the first time that I was playing uh, in a movie about Nazi Germany, and it would have been a challenge because to be even considered being cast as a not only a German but a Nazi, it's kind of weird. And I was looking forward to working on all these films, and then this happened, and so I've been using the time to. I finished writing The Lunatics, which is a feature film about bad cops. And the funny thing is, now with all the current situation going on, I don't even know where that movie is going to wind up when this is all over. It could be, to me, it was very timely because they weren't bad in a sense of being bad. They were just, they've had it with their career and they didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And they were going to capture a criminal by any means necessary, even if it meant going against the rules. So, like I said, it was timely. But then, the way this year has just transpired, that it's all the drama, between the presidency and the election and COVID and riots and BLM and, oh, God, could you put any more crap in? Seriously.
Yeah,
I started to make fun out of the daily, what's going to happen next.
yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely been an interesting year. I mean, in some cases it's created some opportunity, and in some other cases it's just killed a ton of things. Like there's some of those small businesses, and just this year, I actually just did an interview with Matt Borlingi. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's on Cobra Kai. He's done a ton of stuff, and he said that in this year, anytime someone steps in a pile of dog poo or just has a rough time, they say, "Hey, man, that's 2020."
No, it's the truth. I've kind of shrugged off so much stuff. The best thing that happened to me that I did this year was I joined a boat club, where you get to take a boat out and you pay a certain amount of money to join it, and you pay a membership fee every month, whether you use the boat or not. But I got to go out almost all summer on the boat and go fishing and take my friends and my son and just have a good time, not dwell on this uh, thing that everybody seems to get up and dwell on. Tried to avoid watching news and social media. Of course, I have to go on social media to basically talk about my humdrum life at the moment, and to keep me in the now. But I really learned to enjoy life a lot more. Spent a lot of time with my family. Spent a lot of time at home. And these are good things. We take a lot for granted. And when you're very busy and the world doesn't stop moving, is when you don't realize how much you actually lose, as far as quality of life goes. And one thing that I didn't take for granted during this whole COVID mess was, I didn't take for granted the time I had and the time I got to spend with my wife and my kids. So, I enjoyed it. I had an enjoyable summer from what could have been a horrible summer. Unfortunately, like I said, as a performer, as an actor, somebody's doing this as long as I have. I mean, this is 40 years this year. 2021 will be just about 40 years. So a long time. It's more than half my life that I've devoted to a career. And to have it come to a complete halt, it sucks, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I mean, it's something that I've never experienced in my lifetime, and I've heard that commonality with just a bunch of folks that I speak with. And you touched on one thing, your career of 40 years, and just it seems like, at least from the movie. I mean, a lot of the movies that you star in are my favorite genre. Some of the mom movies that you're in, and it just happens to be in every movie. I always see you in there. I've always seen you in almost everything.
Yeah.
Always, from Donnie Brasco, opening the door where the boss comes out, and in Goodfellas and Carlito's Way, it's always a scene that even if it's a short scene, it's memorable, and I always
It's pivotal. Yeah, it's pivotal.
and I know,
Goodfellas was a bigger role and it got cut up, but that's how Marty shoots. Marty shoots a lot of footage, and I realize if you're not a main focal point, you're not going to be in the movie. I knew when he shot The Irishman, he shot a lot of footage. And our scene was a little longer, and I was talking to one of the guys that started with Robert. He plays the bodyguard. I said, buddy, you're going to get a snippet in this at best. I said, he shoots a lot. I don't think about that anymore. Martin Scorsese has been so kind and good to me ever since Goodfellas. I mean, he's really had me in. His casting director is Alan Lewis, and they've always called me in for something that Marty's doing. I've gotten a call.
Wolf of Wall Street as well. I remember.
Wolf. I was in Casino. I actually was an FBI agent. I did some voiceover work on it. Going back, he's just always Boardwalk Empire. I was up probably 8 or 9 times before I got cast as a bootlegger. And there's some of the better roles that I really wanted in Boardwalk that I didn't get. But I lost them to an actor that I probably would have cast as well. When I don't get a role and then I see who did get the role, I'm usually fine with the decision they made because I would have made the same choice. It's not about talent. It's about a look. So I'm not one of those actors that dwells on things. I go in, I read, I audition. If I get it, I get it. And if I don't get it, I don't ever say, oh man, I screwed up. I must have had a shitty audition. Nah, it's not about that. And after a while, this becomes second nature and people start to learn how you work and see your work, and they know that you're talented. So it's either you got it or you don't. But I don't dwell on the minutia of it. I just try and move on. I tell all actors that if you don't get it, pick yourself up by the bootstraps and go get the next one. A lot of competition out there. And now with this COVID, you're going to see a lot more name talent going and taking jobs that maybe they wouldn't have taken when they were busy because they want to work.
Yeah.
I'm happy I have a job. Thank God I have a job. And it's in the film business. I mean, I just went back to work. When did I go back? Beginning of September. I work in the construction field of the film business, building movie sets.
Yeah.
And,
So
you know.
you wear most people don't know that you do wear a lot of hats. I mean, on top of being an actor, you mentioned you work on building movie sets. You also have written a few projects. You produced a few projects as well too. So you're not just this actor, but you also do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and the productional side of things as well. It's
Yeah,
done.
I try and stay busy. I have to pay the bills. I have a mortgage. I have three beautiful children upstairs in their rooms, and you know, I want to take care of them. I want to give them everything that they want. Um, I said it in a movie that I directed called Distressed. Uh, I always say yes because my parents used to tell me no a lot. So I guess that's turned me into this giving person. And sometimes I give beyond my means, but I have to work hard for that. But it's better than to me saying no because I never want to disappoint them. I like to play Santa all year if I can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it just feels like, like, especially nowadays. I mean, I don't have any kids of my own, but I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and just seeing how kids are being raised nowadays, and it's parents are a lot easier at saying yes than versus back then it was just shut up and go away. It's a little bit different nowadays, and
Yeah,
maybe for the better. We'll see.
our parents, especially my generation, they ruled with an iron fist. I just saw a film last night called 1917 about World War One, and I was remarking to a friend of mine who watched it with me that even when I went to Europe, I noticed that the Europeans don't wear their emotions on their sleeve, and I think it's because of being in war-torn countries where you couldn't show emotion. It was a sign of weakness. So what I'm getting at is the same came from our parents. My father, being a World War II vet, he was not the nicest guy. He came home from the war very broken. Broken, not too much patience, nothing like me. I mean, I'm not always the most patient person, but I have a lot more patience, I think, with my kids than say my father would have had with us as children. You know, I'm happy about it. Hey, listen, I knock on wood. I've lived a pretty decent life, more so than most people. And I'm humble about it. I try and keep my acting career on the DL. I don't go into a room and say, "Hey, I'm an actor," and I really, really do my best at keeping it under wraps. And sometimes I'm recognized, especially when I was on the Deuce. Actually, even now, people see watching, the Deuce now, who
Yeah,
hadn't watched it when it was out. I guess they're hearing about it and they go, "Oh, look,
awesome
it's that."
show. Awesome show. I love
Yeah.
the Deuce.
So did I. I love Matty the Horse. I love the character. And I love playing with Michael Rispoli. I told him, I says, we got to do a show together that we're, you know, either a detective show or something of that nature because our chemistry was awesome. I loved working with Michael, and I know him a long time. Geez, we used to go on auditions together back in the day. I would see him on almost every audition I was on, and he would get the roles over me a lot. But again, he's a friend, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I'm not one of those. There's some actors out there that just God, you get something in there, the monster comes out. I'm
Yeah.
not like that. Just never was.
Yeah.
Thankful and grateful when I get it.
Yeah, the Deuce was great. I mean, you had the Genovese and the Gambinos, going at it, and it was just it was a different take on the mob, but we weren't really like it's the mob, but it's like it wasn't as obvious as some of the stuff that we've seen in like Sopranos and like in Boardwalk and these things. It was very unique, and James Franco again, playing the twins. I mean, that was awesome. But like I kind of liked seeing what the mafia, the businesses, not so much necessarily like the beating up of guys, but like kind of how they ran the porn industry as far as like the porn shops, the vending machines, and kind of stuff like that. It was just more of like the realistic stuff, stuff that like but didn't seem like a big deal. But there was hundreds of thousands of dollars being generated from it, and there was just wars for
Daily.
the territories.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. I met Matty the Horse twice, so it was kind of
oh,
fun portraying somebody that I met. My father was involved in the rackets a little bit, and when he had come home from World War II, so did Matty the Horse, and Matty he won a Purple Heart. From what I understand, he went up and saved his whole platoon in the Pacific Theater of World War II, and he took out a whole platoon of the enemy and saved his platoon. And they wound up, my father and he wound up working at a place called Mara Brothers, which was in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And guess who owned it? Albert Anastasia.
wow.
So if that's not whack, I don't know what is. Here I am portraying these guys that were part of my father's life at one time. So it's very interesting how life imitates art.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just kind of going back, and I'd hate myself if I didn't go back and ask you a few more questions. Just recently interviewed Chris Calvavino, who was Tanino
Mhm.
in season 3 and 4 and 5, and also Billy Leotardo in season 5 of Sopranos.
Right.
But yeah, no,
Chris is a good friend of mine. I love him. Good guy. Good
nice.
guy.
So I know in what was that experience like? Obviously Martin Scorsese, was a part of that as well. Steve Buscemi. Kind of what was that experience?
You're talking about Boardwalk.
Boardwalk Empire, yeah.
Boardwalk was great. I told you I was up probably 8 times, and I finally got cast as a bootlegger. But just being there, and I worked on the sets as well. It was one of them. One of the jobs where I had a construction working on it as well, and it was just fun. Working on the actual boardwalk, helping build it. It was great. It was an awesome experience. And knowing Steve Buscemi, in fact, it was great to do the Adam Sandler film with him. Because when he saw me, he was kind of shocked. He was like, "Whoa, dude! I didn't know that you were in this." I said, "Yeah." And we were in a couple scenes, and I'm in a very memorable scene with him where he throws these bats down a chimney while I'm in the middle of fornicating with my secretary. I don't know if you've seen the film yet, but it's my first nude scene ever at this tender young age.
Good, man. Looks solid.
Oh gosh, I'll never forget. I got the script and nobody told me about it. Nobody told me I was going to have a nude scene, nonetheless a sex scene. I mean, listen, when I got that, I was in early 50s, so
yeah,
it's the first time I'm doing a wild thing with somebody in a movie, and I knew the whole crew, so it was even more embarrassing for me, so to speak. Yeah, I have stories about that. That would be a whole show in itself.
Oh no, we definitely got to do that again. We run it back, and I can ask a ton of questions just on that movie alone, and working with Adam Sandler and love. I just watched Big Daddy yesterday, and then ever since then, I just kind of started going through an Adam Sandler, marathon. But no, he's great, and Steve's one of my favorite actors as well. But no, that's just amazing, and I do remember that scene. That's why I was laughing when you were mentioning. I was like, I remember that.
Yeah, with the bats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, to me, always the funniest scenes are what's not on film, what happens behind. And you have to imagine, I'm working with a lot of these people for 30 years, especially the crew members. So a lot of them are very, very supportive. They love to see that I'm working as an actor, and some are jealous. Some make comments, but I don't know. I ignore it. But my true friends, brothers and sisters that are in the union with me, they love to see me out there, doing a hustle. And I do it because I don't do it for any reason other than to. It's a good paying hobby as an actor now, ever since I started treating it like a hobby, I started getting more work. I guess because I stopped caring so much about it. I stopped feeling so much pain if I didn't get the job or if I lost the job. I see a lot of actors, man, they drive themselves crazy because this is all they do. you know, and I was that bartender at night and auditioning in the day, and I had to put an end to that because it was going to uh, eat me up from inside. That, you know, when you're not working, it sucks. And I've had a very, very successful life as an actor. And I know that even with that, I still have to work, you know. And look at this year, for example. Um, this was a bad year financially. I don't know anybody who didn't take a hit,
Yeah.
and especially actors. They took a big hit. Look at Broadway.
Yeah.
Broadway's done. I don't even know if it's ever going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
very,
mean, that's a lot of actors in that.
yeah.
A lot of talent that has done nothing but stage work, and now they're out into the feature film and television world, going to do what they do best, which is act. So you have this transition now, because who knows when you're going to be able to go and do a performance on a stage again. Um, I just auditioned for a TV series that I have to keep it nameless right now. I will, but it's something I watch. It's got some great talent on it. It's on cable, and it's for another mobster, a real life mobster. In fact, I think I'm probably one of the only actors that has played so many real mob. You know, Anastasia, Sammy the Bull.
Yep.
Who else did I play? Did Sammy? I played Anastasia. I played somebody else recently.
Well, we mentioned Matty the Horse, and then
Matty the Horse. Um, the guy Baldessamo and Donnie Brasco.
yep.
Yeah, I've pretty much kept it not with fictitious mobsters, but real life ones. So anyway, yeah, I'm up for this role, which I had to do via Zoom.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because I'm used to going in a room and reading with a casting director. But here I was doing kind of what I'm doing with you. You know, I did it right here in my office in this chair.
I'm curious. The investigator inside me, and you mentioned Mobster. I'm trying to see what show is this, because I feel like I know every show. But
I'll give you a couple of hints. It takes place in the '60s. It's on cable. There's a lot of great actors in it. That's all you're going to get right now.
okay.
And I'll probably know. Let's see. Tomorrow's December, so I'll know this month what and when, because I know that they were supposed to shoot already, but they pushed the character until January. So.
There's something that just hit in my head, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. But if it's right, I'm going to message you afterwards and be like, I had it.
Oh, I'll let you know. Believe me, I'll tell you what. I will give you the first to know that I got it. How's that?
Perfect. That would be an honor. That'd be amazing.
All right, that'll be the deal. But it looks good. I mean, I felt good about it. And it just so happens that it was the casting director from Boardwalk. So I'm not giving you any more hints after that.
Perfect.
You want to play detective? You go right ahead.
Awesome. Well, on a separate show, because this is still, I think, in pre-production. I'm not sure if you've heard about something that's in the works with Terrence Winter, Nick Pileggi, working on kind of like a semi-biographical, timepiece on the mob. I think it's going to go back in like the 20s and then go in decades.
Well, that's what I thought Boardwalk was going to do. I thought they were going to start in the 20s, then move on, 30s, 40s, 50s. I think that's a great idea. Nobody's really done it yet. Even Albert Anastasia, I found his character to be so intriguing because he was such a nut,
Mm-hmm.
Would I do him again? 3 times the charm? Yeah, I would do him again. I wanted, I've got to a point where I've gotten picky, so I do want to, as much as I am kind of done with the mob genre, but if I can play characters, that have depth, kind of like what Jimmy did as Tony Soprano, where there's depth to it, or what Al Pacino did as Michael Corleone, where there's some depth to the character. I welcome that, because it's not just about the mobster in them; it's about who they are as a person and the arc of their life. And that's the greatest thing about being an actor is that, even when I took Matty, I took my interpretation of him and I put me in him. And, most of the people that I had met that actually knew uh, that knew Matthew as a person, they said, wow, you did him good, even his relatives,
Yeah.
they've reached out to me and said, thank you for putting so much care in the way you portrayed my dad, my uncle, my brother, whatever. It was kind of cool to hear that from family members that still are there. One guy said to me, he goes, "You do a better Matty than Matty."
Yeah, I knew, when I first, because it was kind of a slow burn, like in the Deuce, until they kind of built the mob side of it a little bit, and then it got more and more intense. But I knew when I saw you, early on, I was like, they're gonna make this a bigger story here because of how good you did and how well you did. I was like, this is gonna be explored a lot more. So right when I saw your scene in there, I was like, man, this is gonna pick up and more. And then seeing you with Michael, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of the other actor who was also in Sopranos. He was in season 6. He was the co-star in The Deuce as well. That was just all you guys together. I mean, the Genovese and the Gambinos. I mean, it was awesome. And I wish The Deuce had gone on for a few more seasons as well. I mean, it was just a really, really good show. But I mean,
Well, I'm starting to hear buzz. I did this pilot in Florida called Silent Partners about this guy, Fat Dave Agavetti. And I don't know. Half the time I don't know what to believe or what to listen to. I try and stay positive and upbeat that everything that I hear is true.
Yeah.
I had heard that it's going to get picked up, and I would be probably just one of the stars of it because the show revolves around me and my crew in Florida in the '80s.
Oh wow, it's a good period.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's like it's the mob in a tropical atmosphere. So I love the premise, and I love the idea, and I love the fact that I can go work in Florida for a few months, especially when it's cold up here. So, listen, my fingers are crossed that 2021 I get back to work. I get to do all of these films that I am cast in. I mean, if you go on IMDb, you'll see I have 6 films that are just sitting there waiting for me to go to work on. And it's driving me nuts. But again, I'm rolling with it. What else am I going to do? I cannot let this drive me crazy any more than it has. I feel like I'm in a dream that I just can't wake up from. It's one of those dreams where you go, nah, thank God that was a dream. But this isn't a dream, this reality. It's insane, and just surviving this whole thing has been a bit of a movie in itself. It's just a movie that I'm never going to get paid for.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I had mentioned this to a few actors, because remember early on during the shutdown, I mean, we were all literally on lockdown, and I was like, it just seems like when you have all these creative minds locked up, they're going to be going to work in their heads, whether they're typing or thinking creative thoughts, and it just seems like the content that we're going to get next year, the year after this, and the year after that, because everyone's had so much time to kind of versus them working, on the road. Now I'm sure a lot of folks have been writing, and I'm just curious to see. I think some of the work that we're going to get in the next few years is going to be of a result of what we were just recently going through.
No doubt about it. As I get older, in fact, I'm celebrating a birthday Wednesday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. I'm not revealing my age, but as I got older, the parts are definitely better. I moved from the cop to now the detective or lieutenant, or that kind of a thing. I just played a sheriff in a film called Shooting Heroin, which you should see. It's on Amazon, I believe. But you should check that out. It's a good movie. I play a sheriff in a town out in Western Pennsylvania. It's based on a true story, and town is overrun by drug dealers and heroin. It was cool. It was cool because I played something other than a mobster, you know. And I welcome that. I like to show people that I can do things other than. Listen, I can do a mobster in my sleep. It's obvious. You've seen me do it. But I love taking on things that I would consider a challenge. Or
You know
more
what you'd be great at, and maybe you've already thought of this before, but the crooked cops, the two partners, is it Louis Eppolito?
I would love to play Lou. I hope that
You'd be awesome. You look like him. You'd be
yeah,
awesome.
I met him. I know him.
Okay.
You got to just grow the mustache.
Yeah.
He was a heavy set guy. I remember him being very big, rough and tumble.
He was in Goodfellas too. He was in Goodfellas.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. A secret between us is I gained probably 20, 30 pounds for Matty the horse. And geez, I tell you, I don't like put weight on because it's so hard to get off. But it worked. You know, it worked in the character. It really did.
Yeah.
I have a picture of Matty here on my wall. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see if I can turn it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
you know, you can see I'm visibly heavier than I normally am. And it's not healthy, but I enjoyed you know, I like doing it. I like when De Niro did it in Raging Bull, and he also did it in The Untouchables.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun because you're creating a new character for yourself. But you know, at my age, to have to gain weight, I guess, you know, hey, listen, if they asked me to play Louis Eppolito, I'll take the job in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Absolutely would do it. And I know there's that's in the works. Mob Cops is in the works. I just don't know who's doing it. But I put it out into the universe that I want to play Louis. So maybe
We're gonna share it. We'll share it. And again, I'm not just saying it because, you know, we're on. You'd be awesome. I think you'd be great at playing him. And yeah, I don't feel like he hasn't really had it. Him and his partner haven't really had a good portrayal. I mean, you've seen.
Oh, they haven't.
You've seen hints and mentions of somebody like them, but never really dedicated. Because it's kind of a mixed persona. I mean, there's a lot of people that think that they were, you know, innocent or justified, and there's another sense of some of the crooked stuff that they did, and there's just a full area that it can be explored. It's open for.
They were crazy. They did hits. You know, they were working for the NYPD, and they took out contracts. They actually shot. I forgot who it was. Was it gas pipe?
They
somebody on the Bell Parkway. I don't remember.
Pipe. Yeah. Was
it gas pipe?
They didn't kill him, but I think
they shot him.
They shot him.
Gas pipe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild shit, man. And I was bouncing around those days in Brooklyn. I was that's when I was moonlighting as a bartender. I worked in a club in Brooklyn. I served every wise guy. You name them, I served. Served Gotti, served Sammy. Geez, anybody back in the day. I was there the day that what's his name got blown up in the car, Frankie DeChico. In fact, I was trying to get to work that day. I had to do a party. And I remember it happened on 86th Street. Frankie went over to the car and they blew him up.
And that was meant for John Gotti, right? That bomb.
I think it was a retaliation to the Castellano hit. Yeah, actually, yeah. No, I'm pretty well versed on the mob, and it's because it's been around me. You know, it's been part of my life. Between my father's antics and his buddies, and working in Brooklyn, and I worked for, you know, actually, I was told that the place I worked at in Brooklyn, Matty was a silent partner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it doesn't end.
Wow.
It's just like it follows me around.
Wow.
But it's fine because I bring realism to it, you know, and that's that I think from a director's point of view is they don't have to come over and tell me how to act and the nuances. I know them. I watch them eat. I watch them do a lot of stuff. Let's put it to you that way. I've been out to eat with them. I've been in their company. Really funny story, and I'll make it quick. When I was doing Prizzi's Honor, I met Jack Nicholson, and Jack had said to me, he goes, "Hey, a friend of mine told me that you you know some fellas. I would love to go and meet a couple. So I took him down to a social club on 20th Avenue and 20th Street and 5th Avenue in Brooklyn. And he hung out with a bunch of real wise guys that night. And they loved him and he loved them. And it was fun, you know. And that's a little secret that not too many people know. And yeah, he had dinner with us and we watched Monday Night Football. It was a Monday night. So
Wow.
I remember that. It was around the time that Joe Theismann broke his leg.
Wow.
So
Do you ever get consulted either on set or projects that you're not on just to get some additional insight because of some of the experience?
sometimes,
Yeah.
you know,
So
sometimes people will ask
is
me,
this how it was done, or is this how it was, or things like that?
oh, well, I'll change dialogue.
Okay, yeah.
I've come out and changed dialogue. I'll say, wise guy don't talk like that. He'd never say that, you know. And I'll substitute it. I'll stay in the vein of what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But if it seems hokey to me, I won't say it. I'll say, wise guy won't talk like this. And sometimes the writers don't get offensive. But you know, anybody like Terry Winter, you don't have to change his words. He knows his shit.
Yeah.
I grew up in Brooklyn. You know,
Yeah.
you don't change Terry Winter's words.
Yeah.
But I mean, somebody who's an ingenue writer who doesn't really know how they walk, they talk, whatever. Yeah, sometimes you have to change it. You know, you take a word out, you put a new word in. I actually did it with something on the Deuce. I don't remember what it was, but I went over to George Pelicanos. Georgie's an amazing writer. And I said, George, do you mind if I substitute this for this? And he goes, no, actually, I like that better. And we went with it, you know. So I think if you do it with grace and taste and you're not an asshole about it, usually a writer or director kind of loves that. It's funny. There was one scene in the Deuce where I don't know if you saw it. I think it was season 2, where I go and I shake down one of Rudy's guys at the gay bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the director comes over to me. He says, "Take it down like to 60% of what you're doing." I said, "Really?" I said, "Is it still going to come off scary?" He goes, "Oh, fucking believe me, Gary, it's scary." So, you know, I don't realize it, but yeah, I'm a big presence on screen, and you don't get that. You know, you don't see that from when you're sitting down. But he said that I didn't have to do much in order to be the intimidating person that I was in the scene. He wanted me to take it down 4 notches,
Yeah.
you know, not be so big. And it worked. You know, he sees what I'm not going to see. And that's what's great about getting direction, is that when you're there and you're in the moment, you don't know what you're doing. I'm just all about the dialogue. And obviously, I know that I have to be intimidating. How intimidating am I? That's really up to what they see on that side of the camera.
Yeah. And you mentioned just kind of going back, and kind of what I've gathered is it seems like your father was a big inspiration, and you also can draw some of these real life experiences, seeing these mob guys growing up. But were there any, just kind of going back, 40 years, were there any actors or movies that kind of you inspired from that kind of pushed you to want to get into the business?
Godfather was probably one of my favorites. It wasn't that made me do it. I started out, I was modeling when I was a kid. I was felt, I was, I had these swarthy good looks, but it was hard for a guy like me back then to break into modeling. Most everybody was white bread, but I did some modeling. I got out of it because it just wasn't my cup of tea. And then I started doing some soaps, soap operas, and I really didn't dig that either. And obviously, getting into Prizzi's Honor, I think that was the thing that set me on the road to being in these mob genred movies. Once Upon a Time in America, I was cast as a pickpocket, and I think that was my first. I was an extra in it, and then came Prizzi's, and then came all these other mob films right after that, back to back to back. So, And then I got to meet Frankie Vincent, who was a very, very big person in my life. He's the one who got me in to meet my agent. He got me into Goodfellas. He got me cast in that. And here's a little tidbit. It was toward the end. I was up for Ray Liotta's part. It was me and Ray that were up for Henry Hill, and Ray got it. And I knew he was going to get it because he had done this movie called Something Wild with Melanie Griffith, and he was phenomenal in it. And when I heard it was between me and Ray, I said, "Oh man, Ray's going to get it." And sure enough, he got it. Kudos, again. Am I disappointed? Yeah. I would like to have been Henry Hill, and I probably would have done it differently. I look back on a lot of stuff that I've done in the past and thought about how I would play it now. Even my little role on The Sopranos, I would have done it differently than I did it. People say, "Oh, you did a great job," but me, I'm a little more critical. I would have done it definitely different than I had done it back then.
Yeah, Ray Abruzzo is awesome. Carmine Jr. and we did a session about a month back, and he's got some of the best lines on the show, probably the most quoted lines. And I always giggle about that scene because you got the two mob bosses, you got Johnny Sack and Carmine Jr. both trying to kind of. Johnny so much already kind of has his crew, but then you got Carmine Jr. trying to kind of bubble up his guys and offering Whirlpool duets.
Yeah.
At the time, those were the best washer. Those were Consumer Reports' best washer and dryer. So those were not cheap. But
No.
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's like he did a hijack, and instead of hijacking televisions, he hijacks a PC Richards truck full of washers and dryers. But that was him. That's the brainchild that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. Of course, I wish the role expanded and became more grandeur. But again, what am I going to do? It's unfortunate, but I did get on. I got on the show, and I opened up an episode, and I was a character. I was always curious as to why they never brought him back. I would love to ask David Chase that one day if I ever get to sit in a room with him and find out. I did read for the prequel film that Michael Gandolfini's in.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, they didn't cast anybody that was in the original Sopranos. Nobody.
I didn't see that. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody from the Sopranos is in Newark. Whatever it's called.
You know what it is just the fans just know every detail about Sopranos, and if they see someone that was in that time frame,
they would make. Why is Jerry Basile in there?
They'd go nuts. Go nuts. Even if it was even the smallest roles, everyone remember them, and the smallest lines. So it doesn't matter if you had the leading role or a small role; people pick it. It's cool that we're seeing some of these guys, in a younger time frame. But I would have loved, for example, to see, some of the guys that were on the show and play different roles. But I think with David Chase, he's so prescriptive that he just probably knew that the fans would just react a certain way to it.
Yeah, it was like, why bring me up if you had no intention on casting me? It's like, why do it? It was kind of a bummer to me because here I am getting my hopes up, thinking, okay, maybe I got a shot at being in this, but it never materialized. This is what I'm trying to tell you with acting, auditioning, whatever have you. You go up and you do this so many times. You go up and you think you nailed it, you got it, and then nothing comes of it. What am I going to do? Cry in my soup? I just got to keep moving on.
Yeah.
There's not much else I can do because there's a greater influence that makes these decisions on whether you're going to get cast or not. And it's got very, very little to do with me. Yeah, your audition is important. And yeah, you need to nail it. And yeah, you should be off book. And yeah, but it depends. Are you too skinny? You're too fat? You're too old? You look too much like the character? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, everybody said it when I was reading for Goodfellas that Ray and I looked a lot alike. And at that time, I can agree with that. We did. We had a lot of similarities. We don't now, but whatever. You know, the good thing is now that I played mob bosses like Matty, and that's all I want to play. You're never going to see me as the guy in the pork store starving them out of nata sauce. I'm never going to do that. Those days are gone. If somebody calls, oh, we want you, you know, to play mobster number, nah, I ain't doing no mobster number one, no more than mobster one, number two. You know, we used to call them doody-doos. I will never play a doody-doo again. Those days are gone. I don't care how big the movie is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're at that age now where you know you could play, you know, these capos, the boss. So you know, and I personally think that you know, your resume is great. I mean, you've been in some of the biggest movies of, especially the mob movies of all time. That I think you're going to be probably landing more of these, you know, capo roles, the actual being the boss of the family type roles. But again, I've been wanting, and we mentioned this earlier, like a true Louis Eppolito movie, and I think that's the one that is probably the one I'm the most excited if if it does materialize, to see you play something like that.
Well, then you got to get out there, pal, and do the right thing. You know, get in the director's ear and say, listen, there's nobody left to cast but Garry Pastore. It doesn't make sense to look at anybody else. Just cast him right now. You know, maybe I'll throw you 10% or something.
Absolutely, no, I would do it. I would definitely do it.
Give you a little, you know, what do you call it? A boost, a little envelope. You know, you help me out here and I help you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. As a hobby, I've always enjoyed screenwriting, and I actually a few years back, for fun, you know, just wrote a little spec script that was based on Louis Ippolito, and I wrote close to 20, 30 pages.
So
And
finish it.
I've always been interested. I've been more motivated now to do that. Absolutely.
You
Love
should
to-
finish it.
Yeah.
You know, I like guys like you. You remind me of like a Quentin Tarantino, John Gallagher. I don't know if you know about him. May he rest in peace. John, I did Street Hunter with. I did a movie Men Lie, and just most recently I did this movie Sarah Q. John is a director from New York. Well, he just recently passed away about a month ago. You know, and he was one of those guys that, like you, he was just loved cinema. He was a walking encyclopedia of film, and his excitement was what got me about John, working with him on movies, is that he was just so full of knowledge, and he used to get excited when he talked about actors, and he loved working with actors, and he loved character actors. The wonderful thing about living on the East Coast is, you know, there's a whole bunch of actors that are such characters. You know, I grew up with Tony Sirico. I know Tony before, Jesus, I met him in 1984 or 5. You know, and these are when these guys weren't doing anything. They were doing bit parts.
Yeah.
You know, and people don't realize that we all kind of grew up together. We all came up together. Johnny Sachs and I were in the same class in NYU. Went to film school together.
That's amazing. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that amazing?
And he became an
you know,
actor later. He became an actor later in his life.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. I remember I made fun of he had a thesis film. And we used to go to this place, Mary Lou's, on Thursday nights. Me, Tony Sirico, Johnny Sack, you know, Vinny Curatola, Vincent Pastore would come. Every Thursday it was a who's who. Pretty much it was a Sopranos episode. Sitting at a table, we'd get drinks and dinner and talk about whatever. And John Gallagher, the director, would be there. You know, and it's so funny. And then here we are, you know, a decade or two later, and we're all working on one of the hottest shows on television. And that's just the way it's been. You know, that's been how New York has been for me as an actor. Is just coming up and working with all of these great guys. Listen, I'll go into an audition on any given day. Back when we used to go into the casting director's office, and there's 20 guys I know, they look just like me. You know, and that's always how it's been here in New York. The Italian American Actors Club, basically. You know, we all see the same faces all the time, and we know one of us is going to get it. And my philosophy now is, if I don't get the role, then I hope my buddy gets it.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see other people prosper. And every time I've had that philosophy, because it's karma, and you have to give out good to get back good. If you're going to be a jealous asshole, for lack of a better word, and there's a lot of them out there, and I'll call them on it. You're going to be that guy, that actor who's a jealous asshole, and be upset because one of your friends got it over you. Well, guess what? The universe is never going to be good to you. Never. Never, ever, ever. You got to have that camaraderie and say, hey, listen, I'm happy one of my friends got the role and I didn't get it. And then you know the better role will come down the line. It happened on the Deuce. I read for a role, one of my buddies got it. I wasn't upset. I'm glad he got it. I wound up getting a better role. You know why? Because I didn't care. I threw it out there. That good. I'm glad you got it. And that's the way to be. You know, if you're going to be that competitive, you shouldn't be in this business. Go sell cars. You know what I mean? Or shoes. Go be a shoemaker.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think it's funny how you say it. It's basically, you know, obviously you want it, you know, you want to get these parts, but for some reason when you don't care, you know what I mean? And not saying that you're going to go into it kind of, you know, half cocked or whatever, but like just kind of like understanding that if I don't get this, you know, I can get the next role, and you know, being positive. The directors and everyone in the room can kind of sense that, you know what I mean? And then sometimes if you're someone that you know, your fellow castmates have worked with you before and just kind of know your personality, sometimes they'll give you a good word to the director and the casting agents. And you know, again, no one wants to work sometimes with I guess to say an asshole, so to speak.
Mhm.
But just good energies come, you know, when you kind of have that mentality of just camaraderie, and you know, being able to, you know, kind of say like, hey, there's another role out there for me, and then it comes, you know, as long as you keep, like Rocky says, keep punching. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. And
it'll
listen,
come.
I have to admit, there's been times where I've come to set and I've been an asshole. It actually happened on a Deuce one day. Got to realize people don't understand. When I left the house, when I leave my house, I left a lot of times in a character. I'll go to set and I'm Matty.
Yeah,
You know, I start getting prepared on the way in, on the drive in.
yeah,
So I'll start having that attitude. I remember I couldn't find a parking spot. I figured they would at least held a parking spot for me. I had to drive. Years ago, they pick you up and drive you to set.
yeah,
And here I am. I offered to drive. There's no fucking spots around. I'm driving around the block. They're calling me, telling me that I'm late. I said, I'm not late. I can't find a spot. At least tell me where there's a parking garage. You know, I was furious.
yeah,
I yelled at one of the PAs or somebody that got back to whoever, blah, blah, blah. You know, I wound up apologizing. But what they didn't realize is the fact that give me the respect as the actor. I don't want to have to think about finding a fucking parking spot. I
yeah,
want to come in and I want to do my job. I
yeah,
want to give you Matty the Horse. And if you want Matty the Horse, give me the respect and say, hey, listen, he's right. Maybe I should have had a spot for him. Or maybe somebody should have told me where to park the fucking car. So I could have went in my camper, got dressed, and went to set and did my thing. And of course I went and I delivered that day. But you know, you got to think about that too when you're dealing with actors, is that a lot of us, especially me, the way I was trained, you know, I trained with Meisner teachers. I become that person every time, every time. And most actors like De Niro and Pacino, and the reason that they're so fantastic at what they do is they leave their house in character and they go home and they drop it. And every one of them that I've worked with comes from that book. They come from that school of thinking that when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. And not too many people, it's supposed to be like an impenetrable bubble that you don't want to let people in. You know, you go in and you're going to play this character over and over again. It's just think about Jimmy Gandolfini and Tony Soprano, okay? Jimmy didn't speak like that. Jimmy spoke very eloquently if you knew Jimmy Gandolfini. He'd talk like Tony. That was a whole thing that he did with his dialect coach and he created. But I'll tell you straight up, if you spoke to James, you had a great conversation with him because of who he was. He was very well read, loved to talk about sports and food. In fact, if you asked him about Tony Soprano, I think the character of Tony wore on him after a while because he didn't want the world to think that that's who he was.
Yeah.
You follow me?
He was such a multi-dimensional actor, phenomenal actor, even outside of his mob roles. And I did read that, after Sopranos, he did want to take on different tasks and different projects to kind of get out of that role.
Yeah, because it comes old. And if people, the public, I mean, obviously you have fans, you want to have fans. I had fans, you know, but they want you to be that guy all the time. They even call you, hey, Tony, how you doing? Come on, man. This is a person.
Yeah.
This is a person. Let them be in their own environment. Let them be. And the same goes for when we go and we play these characters. If we're not the friendliest, if we don't talk, we don't want to have a conversation, it's because we're trying to deliver exactly what it is you enjoy watching on the screen. And that's the intensity and the chemistry of us and who we are. So if one day I come to set and my balls are twisted because I don't have a parking spot, it's got nothing to do with you. That's me, and it's in here that I created when I left my house. People want 150% up there, and I want to give 150%. And I think most actors will say the same thing. At least the well-trained actors are. Some people say, "Oh, you put too much into it." Nah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. The reason you like what I do is because I put a lot of time and effort into doing that. I'm not Matty 24/7, but I'm sure going to be him on the way to set. And when I get there, I'm going to be him because that's what you're paying to watch. And if you think that I did a good job doing it, then you'll get that's in my brain. And you're telling me you want me to play Louis Eppolito. Guy was a jerk off. So I guess the whole time that I shoot him, if I get cast, that's going to be a jerk off. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. That's the thing, though, is, if you listen to his daughter talk, he was dad. He was dad when he came home. And there's just so many different layers to him. And again, like what we think we know. And again, there's a lot of stuff that's proven that, he was a crooked cop. But, there's a whole other layer to there. Maybe there was a reason why he did it. Maybe they were forced to, or whatever. There's a lot of elements that can be explored. And there's enough depth there to where, because nobody wants, like, all these mob guys that we see, like in movies, like you mentioned Henry Hill, Tony. I think with the only exception of one guy that we haven't seen yet is Gregory Scarpa. All these guys
That's another one that I've been told about.
I think
Grim Reaper, they called him. Huh?
Yeah. Have you did you meet Gregory Scarpa, or? Wow.
I grew up on Staten Island, bro.
Yeah, and that movie
was the mob capital of the world. Are you kidding me? There's not many guys that I didn't meet in my lifetime that were not, real. Not many at all. Jesus, I had run-ins. I had sit-downs. I know one guy wanted to kill me once when I was a bartender. We had a little bit of a thing. And I found out he was one of the backup shooters on the Castellano hit. I had no idea at the time. I thought he was just an asshole. But, these little things that you come across in life, when the time comes and you got to play that on screen, there's no acting there. A lot of it is what you see. Like I said, is what you get. I look forward to what the next 5-10 years are going to bring for me, as far as roles go. And I'm constantly hoping and praying that they become more significant and I really get to show my acting chops. And eventually I'd love to get my kids in it. I know one of my sons, I see him creative on the creative end, and I see my other son as possibly an actor, maybe a stunt guy.
Be awesome.
Yeah, it would. I just want to keep making movies, and television shows, and entertaining, and being a dad. when I walked through the threshold, and being a husband, and everything I do now, it's not for me, it's for my family.
Yeah.
You know, everything that I do right now in my life is for them. It's not for me. I've had a good life. I'm happy, and now it's what can I give back?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
hopefully the roles will continue to come. This COVID nonsense will go away. 2021 will be a better year. I will get bigger roles. I will have more interesting roles, and I'm praying to the acting gods that this audition that I recently did, it comes to fruition, because it's a show I want to work on.
And I can't wait to see that. And I do want to end Gary on this, because I did see that Sopranos Con just got pushed to next year at the Harris. Are you going to be part of that at all, or are you going to be attending?
Yeah, you know, I was such an insignificant part, and Soprano Con, I almost felt foolish that I was there, because I was among all the regular everyday players. Um, I'm not big on that. I'm very low key, man. I'm not into all of that. I don't. Anybody, you talk to anybody, I'm not into rap parties or premieres. I'm just more on the. I'm more of a homebody. I like to be on the DL. I like to go on my boat and go fishing. You know, I really, as far as the glim and glamour, I realize I have to go out and sometimes promote things. But if I don't have to promote it, I'm probably not going to see me promoting too much anymore. You know, I'll promote films that I'm involved in and shows that I'm involved in. Of course, I will. But anything more than that, I think I take a step back at this point.
Yeah.
You know, there was supposed to be a mob con. I might do them. I might do a mob con, because I've been in so many mob films.
Yeah, some of the best.
Yeah, that I would do, but Soprano Con again, probably not. It was a fun experience. It was great seeing everybody. That was the best part about it. Was God, you know, I saw people that I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Um, but I don't know if I'd ever do that again. You know, it was a good experience, but I don't know if I would have jumped back into that again. You know.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I mean, you're part of the alum, and again, that episode was huge. It's one of my favorite episodes. So I think that's why, so many fans, liked your role, remembered your role. You might think it's a small role, but for us, I mean, we love it as fans. But no, just can't wait to see your future projects. And I personally can talk to you for hours. Just want to be respectful of your time. I know you're on the
Oh
East.
no, I mean, this is fine. I can't even believe an hour went by already. I just looked up the clock.
I could talk to you for hours, and just this amazing,
I
learning.
love guys like you. I really do, because you're genuine.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
a genuine person, dude. I'd spend hours on end. I'd go out to dinner with you and talk about film and TV all night long, because you're genuine. Um, I think that's what's great about the human being and the kindness of humans, is that one thing I'm grateful for, and growing up in New York and in the boroughs, is I have a great bullshit detector. I know who's real, and I know who's full of crap. And you're a real dude. And now, after doing this and talking to you again, dude, you got me for the next however many years. You say, hey, Gary, it's time, man. Let's do another one. Let's do another interview. And I'm there, and I give you a gentleman's handshake that, yes, that I will do that with you again. And we'll keep each other posted. And you should write. You kind of remind me of a Quentin Tarantino-esque kind of dude. And
That's
you
an honor.
should pursue it. Mhm.
I said that's a tremendous honor, coming from you, and I thank you very much. And I have had, and during these times, it's kind of created more of an opportunity for me to kind of get back into that, and that's what I'm working on. And being able to talk to guys like you, and getting that additional inspiration. I mean, it's always been here. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Pursue your dreams and your passions. Look what would happen if I didn't do it. I'm, as much as there's been a lot of down days. in my life. There's been a lot of up days. I've got to meet and work with great people. You know, the film business as a whole, I'm not in love with the film business. I find that there is as many good people, there's as many bad people in it, you know, that I'd rather not break bread with. But then there is that handful that is genuine. And those are the ones that I kind of gravitate to more and more, especially the ones that I feel are genuine and not phony and plastic. I'm not that guy. Anybody will tell you that. You know, when I'm your best friend or your worst enemy, I always say choose one, and it's the truth. You know, I love my home life. I love my peace and quiet, um, and I love my privacy more than anything. And you know, again, going forward, I just want to make quality films and television, and I want to live the same life I'm living, no different. I don't need to be out there and on the red carpet every night. I just want to make good stuff and meet nice people like yourself. So let's do something together, me and you, huh? Write something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely will. And I really appreciate that. Those words of wisdom are amazing. And those compliments coming from you, you know, mean the world. I want to thank you, you know, again for joining today. This is a tremendous honor. Would love to, you know, one of these days we got to, you know, get that drink or do some dinner together. That'd be
You
awesome.
come east at all?
I do actually. I live in the West Coast. I'm in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh.
I did come. I do usually come to New York. I'd say at least once a year. Um,
Please call me. Please call me. Absolutely call me.
I will. I will.
Especially if it's in the summertime. I have these great parties and barbecues out back.
That'd be awesome.
Jesus, I've had so many. You know, I had Federico here and Joseph D'Onofrio's constantly at my house. And some of the parties we have in the backyard are just awesome. You know, they're like mixers. I invite between 50 and 100 of my closest colleagues in the business, and we have the best time because it's just all about us. It's not about the business anymore. You know, you want to talk the business, that's fine. Go ahead, talk it. I have no problem with it. But it's a good time of people getting together that are in show business that very rarely get to hang out and socialize. You know, I'm very, very careful who I choose to come to these parties. Well, 90% of the time, people keep talking about them over. I have a pirate party every year where everybody dresses up like a pirate. And it is a friggin' pisser. It's a pisser. So I have it usually every, like, end of June, right before the 4th of July, we usually have it. Next year will be our third annual. And then the last two have been just complete pisser. So if you can get out here, you're more than welcome. You won't be allowed in unless you have a patch over your eye or something.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I can, you know, put a patch over and I'll come over and do my best Johnny Depp impersonation.
Well, it's great talking to you. Let me know when this airs. I'll try and promote it as much as I can. I'll put it on Instagram. And I guess if anybody's going to see this, you can find me at Garry_Pastore on Instagram. My website is www.Garry with 2 R's, Pastore.com. You'll see a lot of my stuff on there. YouTube has a whole litany of clips and whatnot. And you could see me even doing my music with play with Eddie and the Cruisers. Eddie from Eddie and the Cruisers. I played at the Stone Pony with him a couple times, and you can see me doing some rock and roll. Yeah, it's been a good life, and I wanted to continue being a great life and try and be an inspiration to other actors too.
Absolutely. Well, you've definitely inspired me.
Eppolito.
It's gonna
in my head.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to share that spec script with you, and just want to again thank you so much, Garry, for joining, and can't wait to do this again sometime and share this with the fans. And we'll share all those links that you mentioned as well, so that way the fans can have access to it. And thank you very much, Garry, and we'll touch base again. Okay.
Fist bump.
Fist bump. Thank you.
I'll see you, man. Peace.
Yeah, take care. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.